Hello YouTube! Welcome to my weekly Elder Scrolls lore video on Thursday. Today a little video that I've been wanting to do for a long time. A video on why the games do not accurately represent the lore of the games. Now, too many people have already this clear for themselves, so if you already know all this and if you already have this in your head, just skip this video and maybe watch the one from Tuesday. It's pretty interesting. But I seem to notice that a lot of people in general don't really seem to grasp the concept all too well, which causes problems in discussions. So I decided to lay out this problem for you in a somewhat summarized way. That said, I don't have to say anything else before we start, so let's just immediately get started. So this problem of the games not accurately representing the lore is one that has had its effect on many aspects of the games. And I doubt that I will cover them all in this short video, but this video is just meant to lay out the problem for you and give a little more insight in the way how I interpret the games. So, one of the main problems present in the games is the fact that the world map is really small. Like, don't get me wrong, Skyrim has a big world map for a game, Oblivion even bigger, and all segments together, Elder Scrolls Online even bigger than those two combined. But if you want, you can just go from one end to another in a matter of hours or even minutes if you try hard enough. This is of course completely unrealistic. For example, a mountain like the Throat of the World is the highest mountain in all of Tamriel, but in Skyrim it's barely bigger than a hill in real life. It's supposed to be 7,000 steps to the top, but in game it's just 700 if you stretch it. In lore there are supposed to be gigantic armies, yet in all the games you just see 40 NPCs fighting it out. I mean, that's a bit anticlimactic, especially after reading about gigantic armies. Look only at this picture from an Elder Scrolls Legends card and you can see the very problem I describe in these two examples. In this card, Imperial Reinforcements, you see a massive army of Imperial soldiers standing on the Imperial Isle, but you see the Imperial city in the far distance. Compared to the people seen in this picture, the city is absolutely massive, and the island on itself is also massive, while when we go into Oblivion we can see that the island and its city are relatively small. A city of only a couple of NPCs, not the hundreds of thousands that are said to be there in lore. And the island on itself is also a lot smaller than presented here. It definitely couldn't fit an army that size. I mean, if you made an army that size out of NPCs, the entire island would be filled, and here it's basically a lot bigger. And think about the cities itself. The Imperial City, the largest city of all of Tamriel, it only residents about 100 NPCs. I mean, that's just unrealistic. Now this problem is easily explained because of the limitations of the engine. They cannot have more than 100 NPCs at once on screen or everything will get glitchy. But I would like to argue that it's simply more fun and unique too. Part of the Elder Scrolls charm is the fact that these cities are crazily detailed and that all these NPCs are unique to some degree and have a place in people's hearts after playing the games. While in larger cities and games like in the Assassin's Creed series, which have, well, not truly realistic cities, but they come very close to being realistic in size, at least for the time they play in. These cities would lose a large part of its soul, in my opinion, if they did that in the Elder Scrolls series, as the NPCs would be reduced to just a part of the flock of NPCs, and the cities itself would become bland and boring with many copied buildings, while part of the charm is currently that it's all unique, and those unique structures would just stand out less because there's 100 of them or 1,000 of them in the city. Although I would love an Assassin's Creed style free-run game in the Imperial City, especially if the Imperial City would be presented on a lore scale, that would forever remain a dream, I think, but I was like, well, let's mention it in this, maybe Todd is watching, you know? He might. But let's go back to the point. I view the games as a sort of summary of the lore, a way to experience the universe on its general and summarized points. Think for example about the Emperor's ship in Skyrim, the Catarrhia. That ship is supposed to be absolutely massive, yet it's relatively small in game. But the thing is, the most important part of the ship, the Emperor's room, has been created on its lore size and scale. They show us the important things, the things that are important to the story in the way they are, but they keep the non-useful details out of the game to save development time and just make the game less complicated and have more of its own personality. Same goes for the currency. I mentioned this before in my video on the Septim coins. It's very likely that there are multiple types of Septim coins, and even more likely that there are multiple types of currency, like ancient Nordic coins, Dwemer coins, Aliot coins, etc. Yet we always find Septims in most of the games. Only in Morrowind we could find some sort of a Dwemer coin. They do this not because they don't realize it's impossible to find a Septim in a crypt that's over 1,000 years old, but they do this simply to simplify the game and not make it overcomplicated in gameplay. Now, there's definitely things that I would want expanded upon. Think, for example, about the scale of the Civil War battles. I mean, it's just pathetic. A bit bigger battle would go a long way in at least making it feel epic. And I would love to have the cities be a bit bigger. They could easily be a bit bigger without its essence going lost. Think only about the city expansion mods on the Nexus. But even with those additions, bit bigger cities, bit bigger maps, the game would still in no way represent the lore, as everything has to just be smaller in the game than in lore to make the game playable. If they made Tamriel on its true scale, there would be miles upon miles of land with nothing to do with it. Millions upon millions of NPCs who if only, well, maybe 10 or maybe just 100 of them would actually be interesting. While it would be cool on a lore sense, like you can explore Tamriel the way it is, I prefer the summarized format that we get in the games, where I just have something to do and somebody to talk to whenever I walk into any direction for longer than a minute. I mean, that's just a matter of taste, I think, but I think that's the preference of most of the players, but I can't speak for the entire community here. Anyway, I really wanted to present this problem and my way of thinking about it to you, and let me know whether you agree or not. I know that this is a bit of a problem within the lore community, as sometimes whenever you're, for example, discussing the Great War and the massive battles that were there's always like this one guy who says, yeah, but Cyrodiil isn't that big. I mean, look in Oblivion, and there's no way that it could size these big-ass armies. And well, I just wanted to make this video ever since I read that comment, but I always refer from it for no reason. So, next Thursday there will be another regular lore video again according to my new upload schedule, and there's even good chances that I might have another one for you before next Thursday, so it's probably gonna be there on Sunday or Monday. That's because I currently have a little more time than usual, so I have time to do an extra video. So if you like that video, consider sticking around for those or watch some of the videos in my backlog. I have a huge backlog of Elder Scrolls lore videos by this point. That said, this video was in part brought to you by the wonderful people on screen, my Patreon supporters, and especially my top patrons Hayden Barnes, Sam Kempling and Gabriel Binda. 3 people that are so legendary that they are said to be able to beat Alduin with their bare fists. With that said, I will see you in the next lore video, probably Thursday, and maybe even earlier on Monday or Sunday, depending on when I have it done. Bye bye.